Are we taking notes on all of the slides?
Yeah. Okay. So, Babylon, also known as Babylonia, is going to be the next empire. They are going to be the people that kick out the Akkadians and take over. Please, please, no one write, or excuse me, say Babylon. Do not. It's Babylon. I know right now, Aiden, you're thinking, he, I'm going to say Babylon. Don't. It's Babylon. Okay? Or no, Babylonia. No.
Babylonia. Wow.
F minuses. Okay. And the most important person that we're going to talk about for the Babylonian Empire is going to be Hammurabi. Just like how we really only talked about one guy for the Akkadians, Sargon the First, we're talking about just Hammurabi for them. And he's famous because he creates one of the earliest law codes that was written down. Now, we have discovered other laws that were written down before him. Most of the time, resources will still say, Hammurabi's code is the first written law code, which is technically not true, but it is one of the earliest. It's the most famous because it was the same throughout the entire Babylonian Empire. Everywhere he ruled, he put victory steles, and steles talking about the Babylonian, laws, Hammurabi's code. We see Hammurabi right now sitting in a very fancy chair, going and giving down his codes. We see Hammurabi right here without a nose. Ouchies. So, other thing for Babylon, it is going to be super wealthy because of trade. The Babylonians are going to be very smart. They're going to build lots and lots and lots of roads. And all of those roads, of course, are going to go and wide up, leading to Babylon. So it makes sense. And Ashlyn is 100% correct, darling. So yeah, that's your warning. So with it, we have roads all going to Babylon. So merchants like Gus and Kalen, they are going to automatically have to go into that city. And when they go into that city, they are going to wind up going and what in the world? Odd. Do you guys hear that? Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super duper weird.
Someone's calling plus
Someone joined.
177
Okay, well, stop it.
something
Stop.
20.
Stop.
Right.
Stop. Yeah, that is called disrupting my class, sir. Okay? Don't do that. Now, merchants would all go to Babylon, and Babylon would be ready. Do I have to go? Tell Cameron I'm going to talk to your mom about this, okay? Because he's disrupting you, all right? So he'll be the one in trouble, Aiden, all right? You don't have to reply in the chat.
Radar.
So, this is the territory ruled under Hammurabi. Pretty small. This is, well, excuse me, this is the first territory. This is what Hammurabi is going to wind up expanding it to. And we're going to see how it's going to grow even more after he has ruled for a while. This is Babylonian math. They had lots of geometry, lots of cool stuff. What I love is the Babylonian number system here, which is really interesting because it's based off of a 60 as opposed to base 10. So we're going to see how it's going to have all of these ways going around. And then once it's 60, it starts having a little bit of repetition where you're going to have a symbol and then this, and then a symbol, and that, just like how we do our symbols where we go all the way to 10, and then we have a 1, and then a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we have a 2. That's why it's base 10. Going with that, maybe I should send this to Miss Carol so you can do some Babylonian math instead. That sounds fantastic. Danielle smiles, saying, yes, definitely, I would love that. That'd be amazing. But let's get to the piece de resistance, the important part about Hammurabi, which is his code. Hammurabi is going to create one of the world's first written law codes. And Hammurabi's code is going to be so important, like I said, because those 282 laws are the same every single place within the empire. So Hammurabi's code is able to go and be known by its people. For example, the United States is broken up into 50 states. In each of the 50 states, all right, I'm going to probably have to talk to your mom about how you're acting too right now, sir. So Mr. Inman, you need to focus. Ignore him. Now, in our United States, each state is allowed to have its own laws. All right? Now, there are some federal laws which are the same everywhere, but each state has its own. One example of a law would be turning right on red. Now, you're able, in Maryland, if there's a red light and there's no sign saying otherwise, make a right turn if it is safe on a red light, because traffic can keep going and it'll be fine. Some states do not have that law. Some states it is illegal. So Mr. Kenny always gets nervous when he's going on a vacation and traveling, and he goes, Mrs. Kenny, can I do a right on red? And she goes, I don't know. And, you know, I'm worried because I might get a ticket if I do it and I'm not allowed, and I don't want a ticket. Hammurabi's code was great because no matter where Austin went within the empire, the laws were the same. There was no excuse. So that also meant he could be punished for all the laws without any excuses. And these steles, just like this one, are written all over. We see we had Hammurabi and his chair and the person going in the law, and below it would be all 282 laws written down. Now, I loved how Caleb had his, what was in the world? I love how Caleb, sorry about that, had talked about how the laws there were to protect women. There were laws about farming, business, laws about everything. So really, these laws went and fit a wide spectrum of things. We're going to look at some of these laws pretty soon, which I'm excited about. Now, one of the things that's great about it is how it protected the weak, the less powerful. And something you've probably heard before is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And that was Hammurabi. He's the guy who invented that. Now, of course, if we take out everybody's eyes and take out their teeth, we're going to have a lot of people who can't see and, you know, can't eat food very well. But the idea was that the punishment fit the crime. So, for example, if Madeline goes crazy and can't take James's playing of the ukulele anymore and she bashes it over his head and it kills him, Madeline Kate's punishment would be execution because she committed murder. You know, if we have Gus really, really, really wanting an Xbox Series X and a PS5, and he goes to the store, sticks it under his jacket, and tries to steal it, his punishment would have his hand being removed so he could never steal something again. You know? So we see the punishment is supposed to fit the crime. If Karachi goes and is riding her chariot and accidentally runs over Aaron, then guess what? Karachi's punishment, you know, would be if it broke Aaron's leg, Karachi's leg would be broken, you know. Why? Because she wasn't looking. She was, you know, texting while cart driving. Why you? Why not you? So let's get some examples here. And so this is how it's going to work. And we won't be able to do this if we have people going and being rude on the chat. But if you're not being rude on the chat, we're able to have it where you guys are going to, I'm going to say what happened, and you guys in the chat are going to type in what you think the punishment should be. Then we're going to compare that with what Hammurabi's code's punishment would be. So then we'll see how close we were. So our first situation, and you can type the punishment in the chat once you get it in your head, and because we'll take as many answers as people have. What should be done to a carpenter who builds a house that falls and kills the owner? So Haley's building a house. She is not taking her time. She just wants to be done. She's like, man, I've got like some TV to watch, some books to read. Builds the house not very well. Rylan says, thank you so much, Haley, for building me my house. She opens the door, closes it, and then the house falls down on Rylan. So what is the punishment for Haley? Yep, just put it in the chat. We have a lot of execution. Karachi has picked an arbitrary number of 12 years for prison. And most of you are correct with the idea is if a builder builds a house for a man and does not make its construction sound, meaning it's a bad house, the house which he was built collapsed, caused the death of the owner of the house, the builder shall be put to death. Yowzers. I don't want to either, Karachi, but that's what the law says. Haley probably should have taken more time in building your house. All right. So, next situation. What happens if a man is unable to pay his debts? So, Divine goes to the store. It's November 13th. So we have all the new consoles out. He buys 13 Xbox Series X's. He buys 13 PS5s. He then, for some reason, even though the S is like weaker, buys 10 Series S's as well. But Divine does not have all that money. What happens to Divine? All right, so what will be Divine's punishment? Put it in the chat.
Daddy, I gotta go pack it and brought it into the house for you.
Thank you so much.
There was a UPS guy.
Cool. All right, and so we have people saying he gets fined, loses his money. Whoa, Nick, that's kind of hardcore. So what's going to happen is if Divine is in debt and can't pay his debt, his creditors, he's going to sell his wife, his son, or his daughter, or bind them over to service, aka being slaves. For 3 years, they shall work in the house of their purchaser or master, and in the 4th year, they shall be given their freedom. So if Divine goes and spends too much money and doesn't have it, he sells his wife, son, or daughter into servitude for 3 years.
I think that people shouldn't pay him if he doesn't pay his debts.
I know.
As long as he left it.
Punished. Why are the kids? The kids is what?
Divine, you're such a jerk.
Hey, guys, we're just using the example. Let's not actually be mean. But yeah, not very fair to the people that like wind up getting sold into slavery. All right. Here is a good one. All right. Nicholas. He's playing baseball. His dad told him to swing, but he doesn't swing. He winds up striking out. And in a fit of rage, Nicholas goes up and slaps his daddy. What is the punishment for poor Nicholas? Well, slapping him would make sense. A whooping. All right. And dun da da da. Oh, if only it was that. Nicholas's hand would be removed. So then he could never slap again. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? But that's how the law worked. I know. It's very harsh. It is not nice. I don't want Hammurabi's code being our laws. The look on Madeline Kate's face, she's like, hi, he, he. But I could
thought
do
this
it
was
brighter.
supposed to be fair.
All right. So we have a situation here. Probably the execution, Samuel. How do we determine the truth that one man brings an accusation to another? Okay, so here's the situation, okay? It's Kaylin's birthday, all right? We're also happy celebrating the lovely and amazing Kaylin. And she is so excited because her best friend Caleb has given her cupcakes. Now, the cupcakes are on the table. Kaylin goes to the potty to wash her hands so she can enjoy the whole thing of cupcakes. And all of the sudden, Mariah comes on in and eats all of the cupcakes. Now, Mariah doesn't leave any evidence. There's a little bit of icing on her face that she says she already had there. Kaylin says, you stole and ate my cupcakes. Mariah says, no, I didn't. So Kaylin accuses Mariah of stealing the cupcakes Caleb got her. So what do we do? How do we find out who is telling the truth? Put them on the spot. Okay, so come on, type it in the chat. Look at the evidence. Oh, that's so time-consuming, Karachi. Mariah is a student in our class, Caleb. Yeah, she's a girl. She has pretty blonde hair. Usually wears sweatshirts. Witnesses. Witnesses. That'd be so time-consuming. No, here is the best way to know if Mariah is telling the truth. Okay, so we take Mariah and we throw her into the river. All right. Now, back then, most people couldn't swim. So it's real easy. If Mariah sinks to the bottom and drowns, then we know that Kaylin was right and Kaylin gets Mariah's house and all of her stuff. But if Mariah doesn't drown? Clearly, it's because the gods said that Mariah was innocent and that Kaylin was telling a lie, and therefore Kaylin would be executed. And then all of Kaylin's stuff goes to Mariah. It makes perfect, complete sense.
What?
I know, right? It's like,
Or Mariah or Kaylin. We don't know.
well, of course we
Yes,
know.
we do.
If
Mariah
drowned,
This is foreign.
if Mariah was guilty. If Mariah doesn't drown, she was innocent.
This makes no sense.
Now,
It's so stupid. I thought this was supposed to protect the innocent, help people. I thought this was good, but no, it's not. This is completely way too harsh. Oh my god.
This
so
dude is ruthless.
We learned about Hammurabi's code before. You guys don't remember the horrifying, most terrifying things ever?
What if they aren't innocent but they don't drown?
the gods would never let something
Don't
like that
sink.
happen, obviously.